Is there a prompt? There are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Ron, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving in 6 hours.
Seven Footers crew, what is going on? It is Jarod and Jenna. We are back, and it is still the NBA Finals, guys. Don't go anywhere because Game 4 is upon us. And by the time this podcast airs, it will have happened. So let's tee you guys up, set you guys up. But first, Jarod is here in a crisp, fiery fall shirt that needs to be recognized.
Well, listen, sometimes you got to rock a little polo, you got with the monogram. Every once in a while, you got to just, do some bougie things. So, it's been a little weird weather, right? Because it was like kind of chilly for a little while, and then now it's like warmed up a little bit again. So I'm like, all right, I didn't put away all the tees and all the short sleeve shirts. So, all right, rocking it again. But don't worry, it'll get back to like 60 degrees soon, and then it'll be back to long sleeves. But, I'm good. Thank you for noticing the polo.
Rod, honey, I always notice. I got you. But you know what I did notice? That the Lakers lost in Game 3, okay? And now we're going into Game 4. The Heat are going to try to level the playing field, all right? Really quick, let's just touch upon it here because Game 3, the Heat came up with their first win in the series, 115 to 103, I believe it was. What shouldn't the Heat do in Game 4 that they did in Game 3 and vice versa for these teams?
Well, what was interesting for the Heat was, and, we should really start with Jimmy Butler, right? Because as we know, the Heat are down their second and third best players, right, in Bam and Goran Dragic. So they're extremely shorthanded. And this is no disrespect to Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson and Solomon Hill and Jay Crowder and all those guys. But, I mean, when you compare them to the Lakers roster, they're at a talent deficit right now, right? And it's a kind of big one. Even if everybody was healthy for the Heat, most people would still be like, nope, the Lakers roster is more talented. And that's because they have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, right? Okay. So for Game 3, it was really interesting because what the Heat did was not having Bam and playing Kelly Olynyk and Myers Leonard a little bit. So that's one thing they should not do. Don't play too much Myers Leonard. Kelly Olynyk, that's fine because as great as Bam is, Bam doesn't shoot the three ball, right? And so that big in Kelly Olynyk shooting the three took a Lakers big further away from the paint, which made it easier for Jimmy to attack, for Tyler Hero late in the game, right? Because the rim protection is sucked out and pulled away. And there is a way in which Kelly Olynyk gives them a different look than when it's just Bam as their sole big, right? Again, I'm not saying Kelly Olynyk's better than Bam Adebayo. It's not what I'm saying. It's just the skill set forces the Lakers outside of what they normally do with their bigs. So if I'm the Heat, it's can I keep the Lakers from playing big, right? Because that's what the Lakers have done all year and been able to crush everybody. The Heat have turned them into a three-point shooting team. So keep that going if you're the Heat. And then again, you've got to come out with physicality and force, which the Lakers did not come out with in the last game, and really have that want to that we talk about, right? Because talent, again, we talked about it. LeBron and AD are just so good. But Jimmy in Game 3, he just wanted it more. And you just saw it. He just wanted it. And sometimes, not always, look, because as we say all the time, I can want to be as good as I want at basketball. I ain't in the NBA, so want to is can only take you so far. But want to with talent as what Jimmy Butler has and what the Heat have, that can overcome, particularly when the team you're playing against does not match the force that you come out with.
Exactly. And the Miami Heat, the culture, everything that propels them to be the awesome underdog that we saw in Game 3. Yes, it's the culture and all that, but it's that they have Jimmy Butler. 40-point triple-double. He went off. He knew he needed to go off. And that is exactly why people call Jimmy Butler clutch. That is the definition of clutch. He had the Miami Heat in a position where they avoided a final sweep from the Lakers, which was incredible in its own. Not to mention, Jarod, they veered away from the zone that they usually play. So that got them a win or helped get them a win. So is that something they need to do in game 4 and beyond?
You know, we talk about it all the time, and that's a great point you bring up. Look, they can't only play one style, right? LeBron and them, they're too good. If you give them the same dose of defense, he'll figure that thing out in like half a second, and then you're cooked. You have to keep switching multiple looks and make it different. I always talk about the margins being thin, right? What it is you want LeBron to have to take a half a beat extra to think. Because that half a beat extra is the difference between you getting over in your rotation, right? Doing the little things that can help you win. Because, again, this is the NBA Finals we're talking about. These are the best basketball players in the world. The margins are so thin, and it's just a matter of, if we can get them to do something a little bit different. You know, the great QB Brown coach and analyst, former coach and current analyst, said many times, the reason you set screens on defense is to do one thing. Make the defense think, right? Because when a screen or a pick is coming, you as a defender have to now recall, what are we doing on this? Do we switch? And after we switch, whose responsibility is where? Are we sucking in? Are we going over? Right? And all those things you have to be able to compute at like warp speed. And so if you can get the Lakers, just again, a half a beat slow. That's all. Half beat too slow. That's going to help you. And again, look, and you have to play well, right? So it's not only getting them to be half a beat slow, you have to also execute and be perfect in what you're doing, right? Or damn near perfect. But I think, yes, when they have certain guys on the floor, the man-to-man does work. Other times they're going to have to go to zone if they have a lot of Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, and Kelly Olynyk on the floor, because those guys can't really guard that well. So man-to-man will expose them. So zone. And with the zone, and I think this is Spo, he'll never come out and say this. I talked about how the Lakers all year, they've crushed everybody with points in the paint and just being bigger than everybody else. If you're watching, they're turning themselves into a three-point shooting team, which, if you're the Heat, that's what you want. You want them shooting threes. Now, look, they can make a bunch of threes as they did in game 1, and you can lose, sure. But the percentages say that's not how the Lakers have done it thus far. They dominate in the paint and with their size. So turn them into a jump shooting team and then you live with that result, right? Because again, no matter how good you are, the 3-point shot is a lower percentage shot than a shot at the rim, right? Keep them dudes away from the rim. Look, as excellent as LeBron James is, he's not a great shooter. It's not his bag. Yo, guess what? He can kill you from there and make them, but often than not, he probably won't. So let him.
Right. The consistency with the Lakers outside shooting, actually, there's not much of it. So, again, you make a great point there. And to push them more on the defensive end, that's also going to give them some struggles in game 4 and beyond. And to play without Bam Adebayo compared to playing with Bam Adebayo, and hopefully Goran Dragic down the line, that's a huge difference. So pair all of that with Jimmy Butler and the mental toughness that this team has, and I really think that they could even this up or take a lead maybe.
Look,
I can't believe I'm saying what I'm saying, but they come out and they tend to surprise me more and more every time, and I think it's unpredictable at this point.
I hope that the Heat win game 4. Just because, first of all, I would have loved it if Bam and Goran didn't get injured, just to see these two teams at full strength go at each other, right? The injuries kind of, it takes a little bit out of it. But if the Heat can somehow level this series tonight in game 4, now we have a best of 3. And look, the reality is the pressure is going to start shifting onto the Lakers, because LeBron knows, as we talked about on this show, and he knows this, it isn't like he has another 10, 15 years of finals appearances ahead of him. He knows this is one of his last really good shots to win one, right? And for him at this stage, that's what it's all about. It's winning chips and like cementing his legacy as, if not like, in the top 3 to be the greatest player of all time. And that's what delineates this, I always say who the 3 greatest people are, right? With Michael, Kareem, and LeBron. And it's championships, right? Right now on that pecking order, he's below all of them, right? Like Kareem, Matt, and Michael have 6. He has 3, right? So, I mean, these are, so when you talk about rings and all that, these are things that I think we need to be mindful of when we're talking about legacy and what he is trying to, like, go after as a player. And so, yeah, that pressure's going to shift a little bit. And now, when that pressure's shifting, how confident are you in Rajon Rondo hitting threes? How confident are you in Kyle Kuzma hitting threes? Alex Caruso, Markieff Morris? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But this is kind of what, if you're the Heat, the longer this series goes, the better it is for the Heat, right?
Oh, undoubtedly. And that's what they're hoping to do at this point, is level the playing field and then attack, which is what they do. But you brought up a few guys on the Lakers at this point, and that just triggered a question within me, because the other night we had a lot of social media going off about Rajon Rondo. Would you say right now, currently, going into Game 4 and even beyond, I guess, at this moment in time, is Rajon Rondo the number 3 guy on the Lakers?
In many ways he is, right? Because look, Rondo has championship experience, right? He's been an NBA championship. He has deep playoff experience. So he is the adult that's on the bench. So when that second unit comes in, he's not nervous. He knows how to get everybody into their offense. His basketball IQ is extremely high, right? Again, much like LeBron, they're in a situation that's going to fluster him, right? And he's going to be like, oh my, I never seen this before. But nobody's infallible, right? The Achilles heel of Rondo's game is shooting. There's a reason why people leave him open, right? Now, look, he can hit. He's an NBA player. He can hit open shots, but he doesn't hit them at a high enough rate, because if he did, people would guard him out to three-point line, and they generally don't. Right now, you could have outliers early in the series in Game 1 where he hit, 3 or 4 or whatever it was, right? Yes, those nights can happen, but more often than not, a late shot clock possession with a contested 2 or a 3 from Rondo, that's a win for you on defense. That's what you want.
Rondo is more of the veteran presence that I see Chris Paul bring to the floor when I watch him play. That's the kind of vibe I get. Don't get me wrong. Their games not similar.
I was going to say Chris Paul way better than Rondo, but yes, understand your point.
See Chris Paul on the floor, I get that vibe, that presence. I almost feel like the other guys are safe. I'm like, oh, okay, CP3's in, we Gucci.
Same thing with Rondo, yes.
He facilitates the ball very well. He makes very good veteran-like decisions on the floor, and I think that's what's really propelling him now. And of course, like you said, he already has a chip. So this type of playoff adrenaline and mentality, his bread and butter. That's it. That's what it is. Real quick, before I ask you how the Lakers can really grab a 3-1 deficit to put them in what many people would say is the safe zone in the playoffs or any series. LeBron James, after Game 3, he kind of explained his playoff mindset a little bit. And I just wanted to bring it up to you because I think it's so interesting, because LeBron is the guy that walks around that we always think is always good, always comfortable, always everything. But he felt the loss of Game 3 a bit harshly. He had to say, quote, "Until the series is completed, I kind of stay on edge, stay locked in on the job at hand. Obviously, no one wants to ever lose. You hate that feeling, especially when you know you didn't play your best. And I definitely wasn't at my best during Game 3 from an individual standpoint. So I take responsibility, and I take that with a lot of passion and understanding of how I can be much better in the following game." So is that an indication or a foreshadow that LeBron's coming out blazing tonight?
Well, look,
Game 4, so it'll have already happened
right.
after that.
He knows, I mean, and that's the thing about counting stats, right? You look at his counting stats in Game 3, and you're like, oh, he had a good game, 25, 8, and 8, whatever it was. He had 6 turnovers, right? Like, and he got the ball stripped from him by people like Kelly Olynyk, like things that like he doesn't do, throwing the ball away. He had some miscues on defense, or what I like to call that move where his man scores, and he looks around, and the other guy's like, what are you doing? And it's like, no, it ain't me. You, LeBron, that was your man that you let go by, right? There's that. And I've talked about this earlier. I'm not saying it's dropping off the cliff today, but He's 35 years old. The every other night playing, it comes at a physical price and toll. Yes, he's finely tuned. Yes, he puts a lot of time and recovery into his body and money. No, all that is very true. But the saying Father Time is undefeated exists for a reason. Now, that doesn't mean he won't come out in game 4, go 35, 10, and 12. Like, of course he's capable of doing that. He is LeBron James after all, right? But there is an opportunity cost and a tax when you are at this stage of your career. There are only so many, for lack of a better metaphors, bullets left in his gun, right? That's it. When it's out, right? And again, he's more at the end of his round than he is with a fully loaded clip, right? That's all. And so some nights aren't going to look as good as other nights just because that's just how it goes. Now, do I think he'll play better in game 4? 100%. The Lakers as a whole need to come out and match the force and physicality that the Heat had in game 3. The Lakers look like a team that, we're up 2-0, we're good, right? That's how they came out. But this Miami Heat team, there's something about them, right? And we know it. Even in the first couple games where we're down double digits, this team does not quit. They keep grinding and playing. And remember what I talked about in our last pod? LeBron having to play 40 minutes in a game they win by double digits, that's still a problem because, again, finite amount of energy, right? And again, the longer the series goes, if you're Miami, that's every other night. That's good for you. LeBron's not getting that time to recover. Look, we all know this. The older you get, no matter how finely tuned an athlete you are, you need more recovery days. Yeah, if this is 25-year-old LeBron, ain't nobody worried. This is 35-year-old LeBron.
And to put it in perspective a little bit when you were saying that, just thinking about all the minutes that LeBron really is playing, if you think about it, LeBron is playing more minutes, a significant amount of more minutes than Kawhi Leonard was playing in their short playoff run. So just to think about the greatness of both of them and the different talent and the age gap, interesting. You get my brain ticking a lot.
No doubt.
So, yeah, we want to see, or the Lakers want to see if they can bring up a 3-1 deficit tonight. We just need AD and LeBron really clicking on all cylinders, kind of doing that insane two-way game.
And you just brought up AD. He was not good in game 3, right? The foul trouble early kind of took him out of rhythm a little bit, and he just wasn't aggressive. I think he took 9 shots all game. I mean, he needs to be more aggressive. And when he plays like he is the best player on the floor, well then, forget it. Because they have no answer for him, literally none. And so if he comes out and plays with that force and LeBron is doing that thing and they're hitting shots, which they're very capable of doing, guess what? This could be 3-1 before you know it, right? And so if you're the Heat, again, you're going to need Jimmy Butler. He may not necessarily have to have a 40-point triple-double. He may not have to do that. But he's going to have to play as engaged as he always is. And honestly, the play from Olynyk's going to have to continue. Like he's been really good the last 2 games. And Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson going to have to make shots. That's just, because, and Jay Crowder going to have to hit threes. Because if the Lakers match them with the force that the Heat can, again, the talent's just too much on that side. It's overwhelming, right? Anthony Davis, he's 30, 10, and 5. Like, what are you going to do? Like, there's really you have no recourse for that, right? And so we do know, I know Shams and some of our friends down there reported it out. Goran will warm up tonight and attempt to try to play. He has a torn plantar fascia. I don't know how that's going to happen, but we'll see. And Goran said it. If he feels like I can't push off or cut, I'm not going to go out there and endanger my team. And so, so he's going to warm up and see if he feels like, you know what, I can give this a go, he'll try. Because let's be also real. Without Goran, that's their other player who can initiate offense for himself and others off the bounce. And they don't have a lot of that right now with him out. And Bam, I think Bam is as healthy as he's going to be. So he's going to just be waiting on clearance from the medical staff. Can I injure this any further? No. Well then, hey, let me do what I want to do. Because Bam's a competitor and he wants to compete. And yeah, would that help? I think it would. But again, we don't want to, if you're the Heat, you don't want to draw the Lakers back into playing while they play, which is with their 2 bigs. Then you're getting crushed. So.
Right. We'll have to see what's going to happen tonight because the Heat have their guys back. So I shouldn't even say tonight. I should say going forward, because hopefully everybody can maintain their health and see what's going on with this one. Is your pick still the Heat?
Well, I
To take
mean,
it all?
I don't love changing my predictions, so I'm gonna say I'm gonna keep rocking Heat in 7. You know, I'm just gonna roll with that. We'll see where it goes.
Okay.
But you know, I'm not confident about that, right? Given what I've seen in the first 3 games.
The good part about this and the NBA in general and the format is that things can change in the blink of an eye. So you never know, Jarod.
Never know. Well,
You never
listen,
know.
I mean, if the Heat are gonna win in 7, they damn sure are gonna have to win tonight. Because if they go down 3-1, ain't no way they're winning 3 in a row against the Lakers. That's not happening. So it best be
No.
2-2 at the time of you guys are all hearing this podcast, or else sayonara, and let's start figuring out off-season plans and all that.
Well, coming back from a 3-1 deficit isn't easy. Some people would know. So
Well, yes,
Wait.
LeBron has done it. The Denver Nuggets did it twice this postseason. Look, it's possible, but you need a lot of things to go in your favor in order for that. A lot of things have to go your way.
100%. On that note, let's move on to my new playful segment, which is still nameless. Maybe we'll just keep it nameless.
Yes, nameless gossip. There it is.
Nameless gossip. That's
Nameless
I like
gossip.
that
Nameless
actually.
gossip.
Kudos to you, honey. All right, we just still have to report that there are lovebirds still floating around outside the bubble, and that would be Karl Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves and Jordan Woods, the disgraced ex-best friend of Kylie Jenner, who hooked up with Khloe Kardashian's ex and baby daddy. Well, that is a mouthful and a half.
How you keep all this shit straight? It's like, wait, so she was best friends with Kylie and slept with Tristan Thompson, who was Chloe's baby father. Okay, anyway.
They kissed. It was like a whole thing. You should watch back a few seasons of Keeping Up and you'll find out all the tea. But yes, they are dating. They came clean and official and Instagram official with their relationship on Instagram for Jordan's 23rd birthday, where they all wore Chicago Bulls jerseys. Kat.
Listen, you know how I feel about Kat I think he's supremely talented. But yo, Kat, my dude, you don't got no business rocking the Goats jersey. Because that ain't you, my guy. That is not you. Like, look, I think Karl Towns is one of the more talented players I've ever seen. But yo, there's a reason why Jimmy wanted out, right? You don't got that want to, my dude. Like, I mean, as good as you are, I don't care how terrible the Minnesota Timberwolves franchise is. And let's be clear, they are horrendous. A train wreck. You, a dumpster fire, as I love to say. You, if you are that good, drag that team to an 8 seed, my guy. Like, if you are that, come on, get to an 8 seed. Anthony Davis did it in New Orleans. Like, right? Drag them to an 8 seed if you are that good. And, you know, but, you know, this is a gossip segment, so we can go back to his love affair with Jordan Woods, whatever that is. I mean, wish them well. Hope you happy. Hope you also working on your mentality and you're going to be better next year in terms of your mindset. Talent's there, but, you know.
Exactly. That's all I'm trying to see. I mean, a little bit of, you know, post-COVID court action and Jordan sitting on the sidelines in a Balenciaga fur coat. That's all I need.
How much do you think a Balenciaga fur coat costs?
Oh my God, probably my 2 kidneys and more. You know what I'm about to pull out of my bag that this is going to be no surprise to you because you know I love him, but it's going to be a shock because I didn't mention it in the pre-show chat. Guess who's back? Back again.
Not Eminem.
Isaiah Thomas. Did anybody watch the 13-minute video on social media dropped by Slow Grind Media revealing that IT is back after his 3rd hip surgery and the 3rd and final one in the whole process to repairing his hip? So now it's almost like he's got a new hip out here in these streets and he is moving and grooving and looking good in the tape.
Well,
go watch it. I can't roll it here for legal reasons. Thank you.
I will say, because I know how much you enjoy IT and his story, and a lot of fans around, casual fans, love this story. a little guy, like it was an MVP conversation a few years ago, playing so well. His sister tragically died, and then the Celtics cut him, and he's been sort of struggling since then. And from a pure basketball standpoint, you know where I'm going with this. When little dudes get hurt like that, like this is a tall man's league for a reason, right? It just gets harder and harder. But I am wishing him nothing but the best. I hope he comes back playing well, because you know what? The league's fun when guys like Isaiah Thomas are really good. And I hope that this is his road to recover, and he's back to, if not at the height that he was at Boston, but somewhere pretty close to that.
Oh, heck yes. I cannot wait to see this return. I literally was tearing up. I hit the 10th minute and it was over. I was a baby, a complete baby. But that is it, because we need to move on to celebrate none other than the legendary Doc Rivers. Moving on to coaching news instead of Bay news.
Bay news. I like it.
Like it, right?
That. Yeah.
Just came up with it up here.
Right off the dome. Well done.
That's right. So we need to talk about Doc Rivers, who, after spending 7 incredible years, some would say, in LA with the Clippers, he has signed with the 76ers on a 5-year deal. He says he took the job because obviously he loves coaching, but he took the job for the talent on the 76ers roster, which I totally see. They are all like, 6 foot and above, 7 foot and above, I mean. But does this mean he took it for all of the talent that is included in the package of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, or will someone need to go?
Well, clearly the lure of coaching guys like Simmons and Embiid and Matisse Thybulle, and they have a lot of talent. Zaire Smith, they have a lot of young talent over there. We know that roster is constructed like it's got flaws, right? I mean, it's just you have not a lot of shooting, so not a lot of space. That's a very old school roster in terms of style of basketball with how things are going now. You and I have talked about this. I've heard from different people that Philly will entertain and listen to trade offers for any and all people. The contracts they have to move off of for sure are Tobias Harris and Al Horford. I mean, now Doc coached Tobias when he was in LA, so Tobias may stay, and Doc was able to get a lot out of him. And so it's possible that Tobias is the one that Doc's like, all right, we can keep Tobias. Can you move the Al Horford contract? And you know what I've said? The only way you can move the Al Horford contract is, well, what other good thing are you giving me to take this off of you? Now, what that good thing could be is Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid, right? A team is much more likely to take Al Horford if you also give me an all-NBA player like Simmons or Embiid. Look, I love Doc. I think Doc's a fantastic coach. He's one of the 5 best coaches, I think, in our league. 6, somewhere in that range. Doc's well-respected. He's really good at what he does. He's going to have to change his mindset, though, coming into this job. You ain't in LA no more, my dude, with Kawhi and Paul George, and we're not really going to practice here. We're just going to, I'm going to go play golf and whatever. And, no, this team needs clear structure. Very, very clear structure. The other thing about Doc is Doc doesn't love and trust young guys. That's not really his bag, right? He leans on veterans. Okay, well, I mean, and so saying all that, dear God, does that mean that we're keeping Al Horford and Tobias Harris because they're veterans? Doc, we already showed and proved that team as constructed is problematic. You don't have enough shooting and creators. Hello, Philly. Missing Jimmy Butler right now, I bet. So, I mean, these are things that he's going to have to look at and figure out, what is the vision that I have for this team? What do I want to see them do? The talent is undeniable. We know it. But that want to ain't always there, right? And so how do we get, if you're going to keep Joel and Ben, are you making this dude shoot the ball? Number one, right? How are you getting Joel to show up that he's always in tip-top shape and ready to roll, right? How are you developing those young guys? Thybulle, right? Because the talent on this team is outstanding, but the roster's kind of ill-fitting. So we're going to have to do some things, move some pieces, get some more shooting in here. Look, I picked Philly to go to the finals at the beginning of the season, right? I said, look how much talent they have. So, we'll see what Doc's able to do, and what moves the GM Elton Brand makes to improve this roster.
Couldn't agree more. I think there's going to need to be a tweak somewhere at some point, but I don't know if it's going to be within the duo that is Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. After Doc accepted his position as their head coach in Philly, he said, quote, they won 65% of the games they played together. He said that about Ben and Joel. He said, quote, so clearly it works when they play together. This team is loaded with talent. We just have to figure out how to make it work the best. It seems like he really likes the duo in them. He said he thinks Joel will be a big dominant man for him and the roster that he's going to coach. So I think the move needs to be Horford. I mean, like you pointed out, Doc Rivers likes a good veteran that he can lean on, but there's no need.
And to Doc's point, okay, 65% of the games they play together, that's true. In the regular season, this team, they have playoff championship aspirations. I don't care if they win 58 games and are a 2 seed or great. So what? What are they doing in the postseason? And when you don't shoot the ball, Ben Simmons, right? In the postseason, defenses sag off you because they know, don't worry about him. He ain't shooting. It now becomes 4-on-5. And that's not a good, even if you're not really smart at math, 4-on-5 is a recipe for disaster. Not good for you if you're on offense and you have the 4, right? So, I mean, these are things that they have to consider and think about. What are we going to do with this team? Because, sure, regular season games don't win a ton. What are you going to do in the postseason? That's what I want to know.
Very true. That is the question. And if there's anyone who knows about the postseason, it's Doc Rivers. So I'm hoping that he can bring a sort of more authoritative kind of figure when it comes to cracking down on making team adjustments. Just because Brett Brown, I feel like he was a little more of a laid back kind of guy, well, Jenna, as opposed to Doc.
What it's about is Ben and Joel got to be accountable. Period. End of story. Right? If you're going to hand the keys of this franchise over to these two young guys, which Philly has done, they got to be held accountable. And right now, nobody holds them accountable. So until they do, it's going to be the same problem it's always been in Philly.
Heck yeah. I mean, they got a lot of work to do in Philly, and great little punch in there when you said that they were missing Jimmy Butler. Let's address a interesting rumor that, or report, I shall say, that Victor Oladipo is looking to explore free agency coming up and doesn't want to stay in Indiana. Are we surprised?
I mean, not really. I think Victor sees that what else is out here, right? I think he sort of sees the ceiling of what this team could be. And, I love DeMontis Sabonis. I love Malcolm Brogdon, TJ Warren. But I mean, what is that? A 6 seed, 5 seed in a good year? First round exit? I think he sees what's going on down in Miami. I think Victor's one of these guys that has a burning desire to be very, very good. And, he's had some injury issues of late. And maybe he just wants a fresh start somewhere else, I mean, he did achieve his best success early in that Indiana run, and I think he can be Victor Oladipo. In my estimation, if he is your number 3 guy on a title team, woo boy, I like it. I like it a lot, right? I'm just not sure I'm not sure. I am sure he's not the lead guy on a title team. That's not his bag. But if he's your number 3 on a championship team, I like that a lot. Where in the league are there 2 entrenched really good stars where he can be a 3rd guy, right? That's what it is, right? Would he fit somewhere like Miami? Who knows? Would he fit in Brooklyn, right? Would Brooklyn potentially send Karis LeVert and some other stuff, right, over to Indiana to get him over there with KD and Kyrie, right? Can Victor play off balls? We know Kyrie kind of a ball hog a little bit, so gonna be a little bit of a challenge, right? But where can he go where he can be right that third guy, backup point, and then and really, he's not asked to carry the load offensively. I think a lot of his skills can shine through on a team with championship aspirations, but we shall see.
Interesting. I started to see him in Philly a little bit, but then
the question is, money, right? Like, how does the money work? What does Philly give? What does Indiana want from, like, right? Because that's the thing. Okay, what am I willing to take from you to give you Victor Oladipo?
Right.
I don't want Al Horford. I don't want Tobias Harris. So okay, right? So okay, and if you do give me Al Horford, it's all right. Well, then I got to get Embiid or Simmons. But the reality there is that are either one of them going to want to stay? It's you have a lot of different situations at work. As Indiana, as we know, not a free agency destination. So, and they're also looking for a head coach. So
Very true. They're in somewhat of a funky mode, we'll say. And my guy, Kyrie, is lucky that we don't have a lot of time here, or else I would go off about his little.
Well, I will say this. I will say this. I do think on that podcast, we're talking about the Etceteras podcast, Kevin Durant's new podcast, where he and Kyrie talk for 3 hours. I encourage people to actually go listen to it. I do think the comment about I don't think we will have need a head coach comment was taken a little bit out of context. But here's what I will say. That's also Kyrie's fault. Kyrie's actually quite bad at explaining what he means and saying it in a clear and concise way. He's not very good at that, number one. And number two, because you are the man who was talking about flat earth and whatever, that is going to color, you are not the reliable narrator in a story, right? People are always going to look at you side eyes when you say stuff. Fair or unfair, that's just how it is because of the stuff you've said and done in the past. So that is what that is. I encourage people to actually go listen to that podcast and listen to the full conversation instead of just taking out the one word in aggregation and being like, oh, Kyrie said whatever. Like, I don't think it was as bad as everyone drew it out to be. Actually, I don't think it was bad at all. I think his point was it's a collaborative effort. But anyway, it is what it is.
Unfortunately, and this is all I'll say too, unfortunately, the media included, the fans, different critics or blogs or whatever, they enjoy tearing on Kyrie. For some reason, he is the one guy who, God forbid, he says, I like blue popsicles instead of red. It's like, he's ruining the color red. Why are you doing this?
And again, that's because of stuff he's done in the past, right? Like a lot of this is born off of stuff he has done. And again, when you run around being like the earth is flat, right? Like, I mean, these things are what make you the unreliable narrator. Like that 100%. So.
Not to mention, people were thinking that he was talking some smack on my king, LeBron James.
Oh, when he said that I finally have a guy who can hit. And again, I don't think he literally calculated like, oh, let me take a shot at LeBron. I think that's just the way he's not very good at actually explaining what he means clearly and concisely. And when you have to interpret what he's saying, all hell breaks loose. Is what it is.
It is what it is. On another note, we have to tell you guys an update about the next season. Yes, there's going to be a next season. Calm down with all your worrying and all whatnot about that and this and that. All right, Shams, the lovely Shams reported today that the 2020-21 season, that the NBPA executive director, Michele Roberts, gave an update and said that the next season could realistically start in late January or February. Free agency no later than December 1st. Salary cap not expected to deviate for all y'all out there keeping track. And NBPA has appointed players for the Social Justice Coalition that they have started following all of the protests with Black Lives Matter, which is incredible what they're doing and putting together. So we have more of a light at the end of the tunnel for the next season. Jarod.
Yeah, no doubt. Shouts to Michele Roberts, who's been a guest on this podcast. Yeah, she's making the rounds, right? She talked to Sham. She was on Sam Amick's podcast on The Athletic as well. And Adam said this in his comments. Adam Silver, NBA commissioner, said this in his comments earlier this week. Yes, the NBA, the next season will likely start sometime January, late February, somewhere in that range. There were talks about it happening in December. I don't think that is likely right now. I think it'll be end of January, early February, perhaps MLK Day. Who knows? It's an important day in the NBA, obviously for obvious reasons. What they ultimately want is to have the players back in markets and do modified version of bubbles where there isn't this crazy normal time where players are crisscross traveling all over the country as they normally do, right? So have markets set up where you sort of have longer periods where teams are in their home market, where you might have, okay, we're going to keep 4 teams or 5 teams in this area for an extended period of time. So they play each other around, right? And then another set moves somewhere else, right? So that we limit the amount and the exposure to what's going on in the virus. So what it looks like it'll be is some kind of modified bubble, not as extensive as it was down in Orlando, but some version of it where guys and teams are able to stay in their home market, and then come playoff and championship time, we do a similar version, not maybe to the extent of what it was in Orlando, but a modified version again, because what you want to do is limit exposure to outside sources. They also do want a limited amount of fans back in the arenas, which is why they want to stay in the home markets. And they're monitoring, right? They're watching what the NFL is doing. They're watching what Major League Baseball is doing. The NBA has shown, and hockey to an extent as well, has shown what you can do when you rapid test, where you test every day and you isolate in a bubble, right? No player positive tests, right? This has gone on extremely well. And Michele talked about how pleased they were, because look, they were skeptical as we all were. Like this, it wasn't a matter of if some players can test positive; it was always when. But they were fortunate that nothing happened, right? So excellent news. The question now is, what can they do going forward? Because losing the gate revenue, right? So that's ticket sales and all that. That's been a huge impact on BRI, which is basketball-related income. And Michele said, look, the owners and players, both sides know they're taking a hit financially. The pie of money, the BRI, the basketball-related income, is going to be smaller because there were no gate receipts. That just is what it is. And they're getting ready to approach another collective bargaining agreement, right? That's coming up. So there's going to be give and take on both sides. And can they get another deal signed and, ensure the long-term health of this league? We don't have any player stoppages or lockouts or what have you. So a lot's happening right now. The next season does have some dates, as we talked about, right? January, February, somewhere around there. Free agency, the dates are set for that, the draft, all that. But keep in mind, folks, a collective bargaining negotiation is pending. So, and whenever there's two sides negotiating, there's always a chance for owners locking the players out or players being like, nah, we're not down with this. We're not playing. So I'm not saying anything that's going to happen. Michele and Adam are two of the best people at coming to the table and being like, look, here's what I want. Here's what you want. How do we figure to get this done? We shall see.
Right. I think that is incredibly great and detailed insight from you, Jarod. And I think that we should definitely keep all the 7-footers gang updated on updates coming up for the next season within the bubble format that could be happening there, and as well as the negotiations that are coming up. So I know that you will always bring the tea.
No doubt. No doubt. Got to keep your ear to the ground, talking to my various sources out there, But as always, you guys know what the deal is. 7-footers podcast. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all that. At JS Hector, at Jenna Lemoncelli, at 7-footers pod on Twitter, at 7-footers podcast on Instagram. And the next time we talk to you guys, it's either going to be end of the finals, and we're talking about off season, or I don't know, it might be game 6 or 7. Actually, either way, if we do a podcast, if we record next week, either way, it's gonna be over. The question is it over, this week, or is it over next end of this week, early next week? Yeah. So next time we talk to you guys, either way, the NBA finals will be over. So we shall see.
Peace.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't wanna trap, what's a man gon' do? Chevy told me come